The flight from Troy would bring Aeneas to Latin lands. Centuries later, Romulus would kill his brother Remus and found a city in his own name, Rome, the Eternal City. Romulus, born in the year 770 before the birth of Christ, son of Mars, the Roman god of war and agriculture, and descendant of the Trojan hero Aeneas and the king of Latium, Latinus. He would proclaim himself king and founder of Rome after murdering his brother, Remus. He, along with his brother, would re-establish their grandfather Numitor as king of Alba Longa before setting out to found a city in the hills overlooking the Tiber. He would divide the populace into 3 tribes for administrative purposes, establish a 100-man senate, the patrician and plebeian social classes. He would pacify the Sabines and conquered a few cities. He is said to have either been raised to heaven by Mars or murdered by the Roman Senate due to jealousy. He is referred to as a king of war. Numa Pompilius was born on the 21st of April in the year 753 before the birth of Christ, marking the day of Rome's founding. Brother-in-law of Romulus and son of a Sabine, he was elected king by the Curiate Assembly. After the death of Romulus, he would only accept kingship after being asked by his people. He is referred to as a king of peace. Plutarch states that Numa's first act was disbanding Romulus's 300-strong personal guard. He is remembered as being a patron for his wisdom and piety and conversed with the gods to the extent of defeating Jupiter in a battle of wits. Plutarch states that the noble families of Pomponi, Pinari, Calpurni, Aemilii, and Pompilii trace their origins to him. He would reign until his death at 81 years old and be buried in a stone coffin rather than being cremated. Tullus Hostilius, elected king by the Curiate Assembly after the death of Numa Pompilius. Grandson of Hostus Hostilius, friend of Romulus that had died against the Sabine invasion of Rome. He was known to have been a warlike king and believed his predecessor's passivity had weakened Rome. After the Battle of Alba Longa, Tullus forced the Alban citizens to migrate to Rome and integrate into the Roman population. He would build the original Roman Senate house, the Curia Hostilia, to house the growing Roman Senate. According to Livy, Tullus had angered Jupiter due to a failed ceremony in his honor and struck the Roman king and his family down with a bolt lightning. Alternatively, it is believed that Ancus Marcius and his followers killed Tullus, his family, and servants, as well as burned his home to the ground. Ancus Marcius, son-in-law of Tullus Hostilius, grandson of Numa Pompilius, 5 years old at the time of his grandfather's death, he was elected king by the Curiate Assembly after the death of Tullus Hostilius. Livy states that his first act as king was to have the Pontifex Maximus codify the religious practices that Numa had created and been ignored during Tullus's reign. He would build the first prison of Rome called the Mamertine prison. He would extend Roman borders substantially and found the port of Ostia. His successor and friend, Lucius Tarquinius Priscus, had assured him that one of his 2 sons would succeed him, but would seize power for himself upon Ancus's death. During the Republic and Imperial eras, the gens Marcia claimed to have drawn their ancestry from Ancus Marcius. Lucius Tarquinius Priscus, a son of Demaratus of Corinth, a Dorian of the Corinthian house of Bacchiadae that fled to Italy and married an Etruscan noblewoman of the city of Tarquini. Tacitus claims he brought literacy to the Etruscans. After the death of Ancus Marcius, he became regent due to Marcius's sons being too young, but was soon elected king by the Curiate Assembly. Another story states that Ancus's sons were on a hunting trip when Lucius made his claim. He was the first Etruscan king, the first to hold a strong association with eagles. He would have Rome conquer the Latins, Sabines, and Etruscans. He would construct the first and largest Roman stadium for chariot racing, the Circus Maximus, as well as Rome's sewer system, the Cloaca Maxima, a stone wall surrounding the city, and the Temple of Jupiter, Optimus Maximus, on the Capitoline Hill. He would be the first ruler of Rome to hold a triumph. he would be killed by Ancus Marcius's sons and be succeeded by his son-in-law Servius Tullius. Servius Tullius, son-in-law of Lucius Tarquinius Priscus. He is claimed to have been of divine birth, though it is more likely that his father had been killed by the Romans during the siege of Corniculum. According to Livy, the Senate elected Servius as king. Plutarch claims that Servius had accepted kingship upon the insistence of Tanaquil, the wife of Tarquinius, on her deathbed. Under his Servian reforms, Roman society would be changed with the firm consolidation of Roman ethnic identity, government and social obligations, and faith. Plutarch would admonish him as being the wisest, most fortunate, and best of all of Rome's kings. He would be murdered by his own daughter, Tullia, and his son-in-law, Lucius Tarquinius Superbus, who would throw his father-in-law down the steps of the Senate house. Tullia would further desecrate his body by running it over in the street with a chariot. The street of where this incident would occur would then be known as the Vicus Sceleratus, the street of crime. Lucius Tarquinius Superbus, son or grandson of Lucius Tarquinius Priscus. He would seize the throne after the assassination of Servius Tullius, which he and his wife, daughter of Tullius, helped orchestrate, seventh and last king of Rome. He would begin his reign by refusing to bury Servius and put to death his predecessor's loyalists. Thus permanently shrinking the number of senators, he would pass judgments of capital crimes personally and with partiality. Through trickery and bribery, Lucius was able to gain the support of the Latin chiefs and unite their forces into the Roman army. With this, he would defeat the Volsci, Gabii, Aequi, and Sabines. The treaty between Rome and the Etruscans would be renewed. Due to the rape of the noblewoman by the king's second son, the people of Rome established a republic while Lucius was on campaign against Ardea. After being defeated by the Roman army at the Battle of Silva Arcia, 509 BC, and the Battle of Lake Regillus, 496 BC, Lucius would spend the remainder of his life in exile, dying in 495 BC.